So when I was about I think I was in preschool at the time. I seen my mom about it. My auntie used to be like 300 pounds, and she was like really, really big. But I really have no recollection of it. I only remember her as like really, really skinny. So I asked my mom one day. I was like, kids, we were going through a full albums. You know, how did she get all skinny? You know, it's not really like a good time gap. You know, so when I found out she actually had gastric bypass surgery a little bit, like after she had her second child. She was like in her mid-20s, late 20s, I guess. And you know, she looked really good for like the time that she got it, but as the years progressed, you know, she let herself get big again. But you know what they say, you know, the weight doesn't go back to where, you know, you got it, so she got in her stomach. But so her stomach is still small, but her body weight kind of like spread everywhere else, you know what I mean? That seems really backwards, doesn't it? You know, go through all that process, you know, you get the surgery and then you get right back big, you know, out of nowhere all over again. I think it's a waste of time, you know, you should eat healthy, you know, exercise, you know, do it the right way. So today I will be persuading you against what weight loss surgery does by discussing the harmful effects it has on the body, showing some personal examples from family experiences, things like that. And I wanted to show the benefits from exercising and eating healthy with the body. So first I wanted to talk about, you know, the effects weight loss surgery has on the body. So in this article I found called the Semi-Quantitative Assessment of Bowel Habits and Relation of Calcium Metabolism of Gastric Bypass Surgery. I know that's a mouthful, but long story short, they have this theory that besides, you know, when you get the surgery, something happens with your bowel movements. They become really irregular. You know, they're not quite the same anymore. And something happens with your calcium deficiency. Basically, your bone mass gets really weak. You know, you become insufficient, you know, and that seems really weird because, you know, we think of vitamin D as you're not getting enough milk. So in this study, it included 27 males, 76 females, and they were all Caucasian. And then there were a few patients who got discharged from the study due to leakage in the bowels, and a few of them had to get their gallbladders removed due to some minor surgical technicalities. But for the most part, it went really well. The results were that the calcium concentrations collected were normal in most of the patients, but there was a vitamin D insufficiency demonstrated in 63 of those and 32 in the rest who were still vitamin D deficient. Now, out of 79 of 103 of those patients in the study, all of them noticed a permanent change in their bowel movements, meaning they were either really watery, like explosive diarrhea, or they were pooping bricks, basically. Yeah, it's scary, right? So now I want to take a look at Elizabeth Nealis and her colleagues conducted a study called the impact of gastric bypass surgery on sex hormones on the menstrual cycle. This study is mainly focused and looked up upon women. I know it's a little biased, but it is. So this study, they wanted to focus on what happens to the menstrual cycle and the sex hormones in women after they get the bypass surgery. So I skipped over this with my aunt, but I guess when we were about 13, she had, I didn't know over the years, but her periods were like really bad, really heavy. Her menstrual cycle was really heavy. She would faint, she would pass out because she was losing so much blood. So her son was 14, so I guess I was about 13. She had to have this surgery where she had to get her, I'm not really sure what they took out, but long story short, she doesn't have a period anymore because that's how bad it was. I remember my mom told me she had passed out when she woke up. She had like no idea where she was. It was like situations like that. It was really scary. So in this study, they wanted to, see what the problem was with that. So in this study, they conducted on premenopausal women, all under the age of 50, randomized ages from 20, 30s, 40s. Only a few women who were really mid-40s. So the results of the study were that all of the women lost weight, obviously, after the surgery. Who's not going to lose weight after the surgery? But after the, all the women's cholesterol were lower, and most of them who had irregular periods, their periods were regular afterwards. Only minor, a few exceptions of women. There were a few 40, 45-year-old women. In my opinion, I don't think we're a part of the study because they had some, like the other studies, some complications. Now that we talked about a little bit of statistics, I wanted to dive into a personal example. So my aunt, who did it the fast way, my mom decided to take the, work out, eat healthy kind of approach. So my mom wasn't as big as my aunt, but, big, maybe a little over 220. She was very unhappy. She was working a lot, and she was a single mom, so, she just had me. She didn't really have time to, exercise, really take care of herself. She was always focused on me, so. She got really down. I remember I was in like 3rd, 4th grade. She was really unhappy. I started to notice she would become really moody, and I didn't understand it until maybe when I got a little older. We had talked about it, and she had a real life scare. She started to have these pains in her chest, like she was having panic attacks, or like she thought she was having a heart attack at one point, and she thought because she was eating so unhealthy, she was really big, we were eating really greasy foods and things like that. So, but my mom really wanted to make a change after that, so she started eating healthy, dieting, working out. She runs these half marathons now. We do charity work, 5K runs, all that kind of stuff. And now she went from 220 pounds to she's smaller than me. She looks so great. I'm so proud of her. And even my aunt to this day, she's like, oh, what do you do to lose weight, and it just all in one big circle. Should have did that in the beginning, and she wouldn't have to waste all that money and have not all these body complications. So lastly, I wanted to discuss the benefits of eating healthy and working out. So Julia Cassard, who is president of the JFK Fitness LLC, has worked in the fitness industry for years. And she wrote this article, Weight Loss Surgery and Fitness says that, she wrote this article, Weight Loss Surgery and Fitness. And it says that an important thing for you to recognize is how exercise is important in order to complement your weight loss efforts in turn to sustain fitness regimen injury-free. And she also talked about how you should pace yourself, when you're starting to work out, the importance of eating healthy, what it does for your body, and she even goes into depth. And she also has people who have done the gastric bypass surgery and who are struggling, to keep themselves, small. So she works with them. She has books, articles, and things like that to really help people. So in conclusion, I have shown you some of the dangers of weight loss surgery and medical complications. I have backed them up with some personal stories and shown you some measurements. So in the future, I hope all you guys will stay away from the gastric bypass surgery, what we all know as the easy way, and take a more safer route. Thank you.
All right, Jaime, a few words.
Okay, well, I really like your attention getter. It gave us a pretty good descriptive visual of what happened, and I like how it was well structured, your entire speech. I also found out your sources seemed pretty well informed, like you knew what kind of stuff you were talking about, and one thing or some things that you did do wrong or you could have improved on would be your gestures. You were holding onto your nose, which gave you a limited amount to hand movements and such. And because of your notes, it should feel like that you should be able to only look at it from very few times. Because he said you could have a lifeline, but only use it at a 1 or 2 max, and just in case of emergency. And there were also some moments where I think you just read the speech, but I understand because there was a lot of information that it probably couldn't have been retained through memory, and I can understand that. And you did have I liked your eye contact. It did seem like you were trying to get everyone one at a time, but there were also some moments where you did look in the sky actually. And in conclusion, I thought it was really good, and overall, I think your speech was really well job.
Okay. I think it's, I like the descriptive story that you have at the beginning of the speech, and you've got a pretty clear statement of what your goal is. There's a solid preview of what the structure of the speech is going to be, so you're okay there. As you go through the presentation, some of the research that you're using does seem to be pretty specialized, and you kind of allow the research to make the argument for you. You want to make the argument yourself and then use the research to support that. And you sometimes just kind of present this research, and then we're supposed to figure out what the problem is on each of those points. You usually say so afterwards, but I think it would probably be helpful, for instance, if you could start with an example on those points and then cite the research, which you do a pretty good job of describing what some of the data in the studies found. I'm still not sure what the vitamin D deficiency does, but the bowel movement thing, unfortunately, it was much more described than I, want to know at this point in the morning. But let's face it, it's one of those things that it's a physical issue that comes up because people are dealing with these problems. The solution that you get to when it comes to exercise and fitness, that sounds to me like it's the research that you're presenting is that it's complementary to the research as opposed to a substitute for the research, or excuse me, the procedure, complementary to the procedure as opposed to a substitute for the procedure. I assume, for instance, that the procedure is not given to people lightly, that the doctors, when they suggest this, are usually more concerned about, have people succeeded or been unable to succeed with other ways of addressing their weight issues. I'm glad that you've got a good personal story that you can share about your mom successfully dealing with these kinds of issues, and it would be interesting to know why she couldn't have the same kind of influence on her sister that she was able to have. I mean, in essence, if her sister's asking her, well, how have you done all these kinds of things? Well, I did this, you should do this with me. We should, why is it that she's unable to do that? Either because of her scheduling or time, or she just lacks the will to do those kinds of things. Those are probably the reasons why people end up using the procedure as a way of addressing problems. They still have the health issues. Like I said, I thought it was well structured, and you had pretty good information there. There's a few extra things that you could add along the way. Presentation issues. I hate that you've got the big, it's not even note cards. Note cards would be bad enough, but you got the big 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that you're holding up in front of you the whole time, and I wanted to throw things at you and say, no, where are we? We're not 3 months ago. This is the end. You should be better prepared than that. If you had to use a card or two, that's better. And like I said, I gave people a lifeline, a single page in front of you on the desk in front, and you just paid no attention to that. You just read from it, which is, look, you did a pretty good job reading. When I'm listening to you, it's not too bad. There were a couple of places where it was obvious that you're reading, but most of the time you do change your voice and you are engaged a little bit more. Your eye contact, I think, is negatively affected by the script in your hands. And then you have the awkward thing, because you were focused on the script and you've got it in your hands, that you're not paying much attention to the rest of your body, and you end up cross-ankled a couple of times, just like I'm standing in the one position instead of being engaged and kind of developing some sense of, like I said, urgency or immediacy with the audience. It's more, just I'm backing up and presenting this information as opposed to talking with you. And that's all a result of those choices that we talked about before, that we're trying to get you out of the habit of doing, which it's a lot of people's default position. I understand. Believe me, I've done it on my own occasionally. All right, thank you.